just get to it. You heard? So, hope everybody had a good weekend. First and foremost, as promised, the Patreon page is live. Make sure you guys tap into that. We already got our first piece of content on there that I posted last night. Um, the details on there is going to be on the Patreon page, but we only have two different levels: general admission and VIP. And we'll talk more about what each one of those pertain to at the end of this. But I do want to kind of get into what's going on today. As you guys know, the market isn't really doing too much, not too high, not too low, pretty stagnant. If you've seen my last few Fetti talks, then you know that this is just what it's going to be as long as inflation is what it is. So really, this isn't really the time to think about what the quick lick is. It's about thinking about what you're going to invest into once inflation gets over with. So actually, if you go to that Patreon page, uh, that's the first thing that we talk about is one of the key industries that you should definitely look into. That's going to boom within the next few weeks, months, and even throughout the next couple years. But today for the market, like I said, today as a whole, things have been pretty stable. I wanted to speak briefly about AMC because I know that that's like the hype train again. No issues with AMC, but I want to make sure that we are clear that it's a company that is still in debt. But right now, it's doing really, really well. The retail traders have gotten behind it again. As you guys have seen, if you actually invested in AMC, the stock has gone up, I think, like another 18% over the last day or two. One of the biggest reasons why AMC has boosted, looks like it's jumped 19% actually. One of the reasons why it actually has gone up is because it was purchased by Mudrick Capital Management. They actually bought about $230 million worth of stocks. I believe they got it around 27 bucks a pop. So that's one of the reasons why it shot up the way that it has. But once again, it's important to know, even with this 230, they said that they're going to be using this money on stuff like, reassessing how they're going to, give off how the theaters are going to look. Like there's nothing really tangible that's going to show that they're going to be able to get out of this $5 billion debt. Like as much as a $230 million purchase sounds good, but at the end of the day, that's a small dent and the leak that AMC has currently right now. And when you factor in, movies dropping on HBO Max and Prime and Netflix, it's just a really uphill battle. But for right now, you know, I don't know if I would necessarily buy into it right now, being that it is already high. But if you do have it, I would just say wait and see how it goes. But if this shit hits under $25, I would suggest to sell it. Take your money. Don't try to play the long haul for a company that really has no way of getting out of this debt anytime soon. The only reason why it's up is because of retail investors and because people are getting behind going against the hedge fund. Same story from 2 or 3 months ago. It's just the dollar amount has just gone up a bit more. One of the reasons why the dollar amount has gone up more with AMC over the last week, though, is that I believe as of last Thursday, a ton of the buys have came from people buying options on AMC. So if you're buying options on AMC, that's a totally different game than buying stocks. That is something that if you know what you're doing could actually pay really really big dividends, depending on the calls and puts that you actually put towards it. So I'll leave that up to you. I'm not giving information in terms of how to do calls and stuff like that, because once again, if you're not on it real time, then you're going to end up seeing this late and it'll be too late, and I don't want to put you in that position. So just do your research on what people are doing in terms of calls for AMC, because that is where the majority of purchases from average retail investors like me and you, that's where the majority of that shit's coming from. So AMC doing pretty well. The other thing that's keeping our market afloat today, because if you've seen, like, tech is pretty even, somewhat down. Once again, just mainly due to inflation. But the main industry that's keeping the market afloat today is the energy industry. And when I say energy industry, I want to make sure we have a real definition of what the energy sector means. The energy sector produces and supplies fuels and electricity for the global economy. So, we're talking solar energy, gas, electricity, oil. These type of things are considered energy industry. Um, as you guys have known across the country, oil, gas has been expensive as shit over the last few months. A lot of that had to do with the freeze that happened in Texas in terms of the immediate, but the biggest reason is because Biden is talking that too. Cool. And if Biden's talking, I always want to keep an eye out for it. As I always say, there's three main people in terms of financing in the United States that if they talk, you need to listen. Joe Biden, Secretary Yellen, and Jerome Powell, head of the Fed chair. So anytime those three guys talk, make sure you keep an eye out. Shout out to you, Shetch. Make sure you guys appreciate him for giving that information. But one of the reasons why the market is going so good for energy stocks is because OPEC. I know people may have heard this name, but maybe don't know what this means. OPEC is an acronym for the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries. It's a Middle East based firm. They actually control one third of the gas and oil that comes to America, well, actually worldwide. So, because of COVID, and flights going down and people not driving the way that they used to, in 2020, they really cut production in terms of oil simply because they didn't want to just. They found themselves sitting on a lot of oil because people weren't traveling, and because of that, now that people are traveling, the oil that they had. They're kind of running low on it, so they're actually going to start stepping up production. So they actually announced this the other day, and because of that, it should be popping around July. And because of that, the price of specific oil stocks has gone up today because they've noticed that they are going to put their best foot forward to provide more oil for the country. What that means for people who don't invest is that gas is going to go down. That can also mean that flights could be a little bit cheaper. Maybe not, because flights have their own issues, you know what I'm saying, in terms of the debt they got to get out of. But it definitely means gas going down. So even if you're not invested into oil in some way, shape, or form, you will still be affected by this announcement. It's on CNBC. It says that the oil jumps to a 2-year high. As OPEC and allies reconfirm gradual production increase. So, I mean, if you actually have money in Marathon or Exxon or Halliburton, some of these companies that actually are producing oil, you will probably notice that the stocks have gone up. Like I said, this was just announced today that oil jumps to a 2-year high. So if you haven't invested into oil, when I did my original Fetti talks, I was speaking about Halliburton back when it was at $4 a pop. Now it's at like $25 a pop. So if you would have invested into it when I said to, you would have made a return on investment 6 times over. Which, I mean, you can't really beat that if you're talking about a stock investment over the course of the year. I wish I'd have kept my shit. I sold it around 18. But I say that to say that this is something that you guys want to definitely look into. Only people who know stocks know that this is even a thing right now. So even if you get in at this point in time, you should see a really, really huge return within the next month or so. Maybe not a double or a triple, but once again, even if you can make a 20 to 30% return over the course of a month, that's a lick. You know what I'm saying? So that's something to definitely keep an eye out for. Um, Besides that, that's really the main thing when it comes to energy stocks. Um, I'm not going to get specific. I want you guys to do your own research. Uh, how you feel about Roblox? I took my earnings out a couple times. Um, I feel good about Roblox. I speak about Roblox all the time. I actually did the same thing with Roblox where I bought in at $64 when it first opened up. Then I sold it when it was at like 85 because I wanted to invest into some other shit. Once it went back down to 67, 68 over the last week, I bought ton of more stocks, and obviously, as you see, it's going up. There's no signs of it going down. I mean, it might go down a little bit, but the company in itself has turned an incredible profit. You can look this stuff up. The profit is undeniable. And at the end of the day, kids play video games, and Roblox pretty much owns the video game space. Like they dominate that space, especially when it comes to young children. So it's a new public company. They've been predicting that it should hit 100 pretty soon. It almost hit it last week. It's still around $94, $95. So I would definitely look into it. I'm invested into it, so I always tell people to do their research on it. So yeah, look into roadblocks. But in terms of like different types of stocks you can look into in terms of energy, I'm not going to get specific. I'm going to tell you to do your own research. But renewable energy stocks, solar energy stocks, oil stocks, natural gas stocks, electric utility stocks. These are some of the stocks that you should look into when it comes to energy. All these things are going to be going up over the next you know next month or so. Once again, if you want to get specific stock advice, make sure you tap into my Patreon. Once again, that is live today. But yeah, that's pretty much it, y'all. It's a pretty dull day, to be honest. Like the S&P 500 is moving. You know, like things are going upwards, but because of tech actually being halfway in, it's kind of made it to where it's basically balancing itself out. So let's all thank. If you have a piece of S&P 500, make sure you guys thank the energy industry as to why it's actually doing anything. That because AMC isn't part of that. So all right, cool. So that's pretty much it, y'all. I'm not going to take up too much of your time. As I said before, the Patreon page is up. There's two different levels. The first level is straight content. I'll be doing 2 actual posts per week where I'm just giving content, editorial that's actually created by me based on the research I do on specific stocks or specific industries to look into. And then one video post that I'll normally drop on the weekends, Saturday or Sunday. It'll be during the weekend for sure. So that's what the general admission package is. Once again, just straight information. We also have the VIP package, and the VIP package pertains to everything that general admission has to offer. I will also send you weekly emails on what companies are going public, what companies are having stock splits, and what companies are doing major mergers that can actually benefit a specific stock that you're looking into. On top of that, the VIP people have the access to message me directly 1 time per month about anything regarding finances. Even if I don't know the answer to it, I'll make sure that I'll take a day, two, as much time as possible to make sure I give you the exact answer, and I will send a personal video message to answer that question. So for what you're getting for the price of it, I mean, realistically, one piece of advice is going to pay for this pretty much every single month. But we're only doing 2 levels. Like I said, I don't want to stretch it too thin. I just want to make sure that people who want that information on specific stocks and crypto have access to it. One post a week will be on a specific industry or stock. The other one will be on a specific crypto or crypto industry to look into. And then the video will be basically things that you should know about what's going on that next week. So make sure you guys tap into the Patreon page. We have the first piece of content that's on there right now. It is available at this point in time. So is the Patreon beginner friendly? Um, I would say yes. And the reason why I say yes is because you do have that access to not only ask me questions um, directly, but it's pretty self explanatory. Everything that I'm actually going to be talking about, like the post that I currently have on Patreon right now, it talks about a specific industry that if you get into right now, you're going to reap huge, huge benefits long term. And a lot of this information is followed with links to information on exactly what I'm talking about. Pretty much every single paragraph of what I speak about has a link from either a financial site, a stock site that's actually validating exactly what I'm talking about, or the news of what's actually going on with that stock. So you'll be able to look up the research on this. I know a lot of times I tell people do your own research, but with this Patreon, there will be links every time I post posts of exactly the information that I'm talking about. So you actually have the ability to do your research just by clicking the links. You don't have to go through the rabbit hole that I normally have to go through to find that information. So yeah, and once again, for as a VIP person, if you have questions, it could be something as simple as how to set up a page or how exactly do I get into specific stocks. The only thing that I will not answer questions on is options. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm sorry. I do option trading. I do day trading, but I will not offer day trading advice because once again, if it's not real time, it's not going to benefit you. Point blank, period. And I hope you guys respect that, because once again, it's about making sure that you have the best information to make a sound decision. And if you don't know how this shit works, you just don't want to put yourself in a position to play yourself. So once again, make sure you guys tap into that Patreon. It's very price friendly. I mean, we're not talking 20, 30 bucks. Super price friendly, especially for the return that you'll probably get if you get into some of these stocks that I'm talking about. So once again, we'll see you guys tomorrow. We will talk more about what's going on in the industry tomorrow. Have a great day, guys. See you tomorrow. Tap into that Patreon page. Later.